Welcome to the Word of Truth. This is Teacher D.H. Boone, and today's message is called God Has the Power to Show You He is God. A lot of times people like to challenge God. There's a lot of people like to challenge Him and thinking that their way is better than His ways, that they can outsmart God, they can outpower God. But God has the power to show us that He is God. God allowed things to happen, to transpire, to wait for people to repent, or God has a purpose and plan in mind. When God allows us to go through some type of hardship, it's for His reason and for His cause. If God allows something, it's for a reason. And what the enemy means for bad, God use for good. Yes, it's times that we must go through things. We must walk out our punishment when we have disobeyed God. But God also allows us to go through hardships because God is trying to build us, mold us, and shape us. And whatever we're going through is for God's purpose and for His glory to be revealed. It's a lot of times people don't believe it's a God, and sometimes people always say, oh, God, He's not in control. Why is the devil doing all of this? And why is the devil doing this? Why is God letting bad things happen? Well, we must remember that, God can defeat the devil at any time. But God uses the enemy to chastise us and to build us and to shape us, and that's what the enemy's purpose is for. It's not that God haven't lost power. God still have power, and God could defeat him in a blink of an eye. But God uses the enemy for His purpose, and that's why we have to listen to God, and that's why we have to obey Him, because if we obey Him, then we don't have to worry about that the enemy creeping into our life. Because when we disobey God, that's what we do. We open the door for the enemy, and God allow it because God tried to show us, when you disobey me, this is what happens. You bring a curse upon your life. You open the door for the enemy. God could stop it at any time. When God feel that a person is really truly repentant, that God, He could stop the enemy and say, okay, that's enough. Enough is enough. Well, you know what? Right now, I want to talk about, how sometimes people accuse people of sinning. When something bad happened upon them, the first thing they want to say is, you know what? Oh, you must have did something wrong. You must have sinned. You must have did that. But we have to realize that sometimes God allows certain things to happen to bring His glory, so His glory could be revealed. Okay, I want to talk about a blind man that Jesus had healed. Jesus came to the man, and Jesus was like, do you want to be healed? Do you want to see? And of course he wanted to see. So Jesus bent down, got some dirt, spat on it, and put it on his eyes. So he told him to go and wash in the pool of Siloam, and that's what he did. He went and washed in the pool of Siloam. So his disciples were saying, well, what did he do? Did he sin? What did he do? And Jesus was like, no, he didn't sin. He was born blind for God's glory to be revealed. So when the Pharisees heard about this, they wanted to ask, who healed your eyes? What happened to your eyes? He said, it was this man called Jesus, the one that y'all call Jesus. He told me to, go wash in the pool of Siloam because he had put some mud on my eyes. He had spit in some dirt and put it on my eyes. And I did as what he instructed me to do. And all I know is that I was blind and now I could see. Well, they still didn't want to believe him, and they kept asking him again. And he was like, why you keep asking me the same thing? I'm going to tell you the same thing, and you still don't want to believe. So they said, well, let's go get his parents. So they went and got his parents. So his parents were scared of the Pharisees because they know that that anybody who said that they believe in Jesus and follow Jesus, that they will be put out. And they was afraid. So what they did was they took the easy way out, and they say, well, he's of age, ask him. So they asked him again, and he was like, look, I'm telling you, this man named Jesus, yes, I was born blind, yes, but this man Jesus, he spat on the ground in some dirt, made some mud, put it on my eyes, told me to go wash in the pool of Siloam. That's what I did. I was blind, now I could see, And so they was trying to call him a devil, trying to call Jesus a devil. And he was like, well, that's not a devil. They asked who do you think it is? He said, I think it's a prophet. So they was getting mad. Every positive thing that they said that he said about Jesus, they was getting upset. But he kept saying the same thing over and over again, But then he said, if this is a devil, God only listens to people who obey him and do his will. He don't listen to evil people. So he couldn't be evil. He couldn't be no devil because he listened to him. I was blind and now I could see, And so they really got mad. So they put him out, And then Jesus caught up with him, and Jesus was like, do you believe in the Son of Man? Do you believe in Jesus? He was like, yeah, I know he's coming. Then he was like, well, I am he. Then he was like, he was so happy. Then he had his own encounter, his own experience with Jesus. Now he knew who he was. But Jesus knew that in front of the Pharisees, people who didn't believe in him, he knew that he was standing what he believed in. He wasn't scared of the Pharisees. He didn't care that the Pharisees put him out. You see what I'm saying? But see, he wasn't a sinner. He was born blind so that one day God's glory could be revealed. And see, God allowed us to go through certain things because for his glory to be revealed. That's why God said, don't pass judgment on anybody because you don't know why they're going through what they're going through. You can't point fingers at them and say, oh, they must have sinned, they must have did something wrong. Oh, that's why you in that situation. We never know why people are born blind. We never know why people are born deformed or without limbs or retarded or have some type of physical disability. We never know. So that's why God say, don't judge unless you be judged. See, that's why if you can't help nobody, then don't talk about them, because God has the power to show you that he is God. And God had the power to show everybody that he's God, whoever wanted to believe. But of course, the Pharisees didn't want to believe because they were still, trying to question Jesus after he healed this man. And so Jesus said, now, if you say that you could see, you are blind because you don't want to recognize me. I am the Son of God. Me and God are one. See, the Pharisees couldn't stand when Jesus kept saying that he was the Messiah, and especially when people came to them and said, oh, Jesus did this and Jesus did that. Oh, Jesus is the Messiah. They didn't like that. They would kick people out. You know what I'm saying? But this blind man, he wasn't thinking about whether they was going to kick him out or not. All he said was, I know I was blind. I know I was born blind. I was blind. And this man called Jesus, he came and he put some mud on my eyes, told me to go and wash in the pool of Shalom. I did what he said. I followed his instructions, and now I can see. Now you see that this man was born blind so God's glory could be revealed. Because so God power will be revealed. So God can show you that he is God. Now you know that God has the power to show you that he is God. God would allow certain situations to transpire in your life because he's after your faith, so he can show you that he is God. If you believe, you can receive. See, this man, he could have said, what is you doing? You spitting on the ground? Don't put that on my eye. You spit and you gonna put that on my eye with some dirt, some mud in my eye? He could have ran, but he let Jesus put on his eye. And then when Jesus told him to go and wash in the pool of Siloam, he did it because he wanted to see. Now, what did he have to lose? He was already born blind. So you have to look at your situation, and whatever situation you in, you're going to have to start trusting God. You're going to have to say, I know God has the power to show me he is God. You see that God parted the Red Sea to let the Israelites go to the other side of their blessing. We see that God raised Lazarus from the dead. We see that God fed 5,000 with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. We know Jesus and God and the Spirit are one. You can't separate them. And we know that God, Jesus, the Holy Trinity have done so many things. Just look at the miracles in your own life. I know you could look over your shoulders and you could see that you've been in situations that you know if it wasn't for God that you would have been dead. You know, my son and his family, they had an accident, and I know that a drunk driver hit them from the back, and you know the car was just total, you know, and they know that God was with them. See, God will show you that he is God. He has the power to show you you that he is God. In other situations, you hear of people getting hit by drunk drivers and then they die or they get critically injured. But God was with them, you know? And that's why you have to look in your life and your situations and see the miracles that God have done, that he had the power to show you that he was God. You know, when God's hand is raised, can't nobody put it down. When God's hand is down, can't nobody raise it up. But you see, God had the power to show the Pharisees that he was God, no matter whether they wanted to listen or not. They kept talking about he was the devil because he did it on the Sabbath, you know. But how can you call him anything but what he is? But see, that's the people who are spiritually blind. They can't see, you know. And that's why you have to make sure that you listen to God, follow his direction, trust him, and stop passing judgment on other people, because God has the power to turn your life around if you believe. But you have to do as the blind man did. Wherever stuff that look like is out of the ordinary and it doesn't look rational or seem rational, you have to trust God, because God will tell you to do some things that it look like it's crazy and other people might talk about it. But you think about what God told Noah to do. He told him to build an ark, and you know, people was talking about him and laughing at him. But I bet you one thing, him and his family was saved, and God would save the animals. But see, the other people that was laughing, they was left behind. They got destroyed. And see, and that's why you have to trust God. I don't care what he tell you. I don't care how it looks. You're going to have to make sure that you follow his lead. Because just like this blind man, he was born blind, but now he was able to see, because Jesus touched his eyes with some spit and some dirt, and he put on his eyes and he gave him instruction to go and wash in the pool of Siloam. And you see that he was blind and then he could see. God's glory was revealed, because this man was blind all his life, but now he could see. And so you have to think about the miracles God have done in your life. You're going to have to stay strong, and you're going to have to know that God could do exceeded and above whatever you could imagine. Now you remember that God has the power to show you he is God. If God tell you to do something, do it. If he do something out of the ordinary, still trust him, because God say, if you believe, you shall receive. Because if you believe, I have the power to show you that I am God. I will make miracles happen in your life. That things that people say that couldn't happen, I can make it happen. So you have to keep your faith, and you remember God has the power to show you he is God. Until next time, peace.